everybody for coming. I just a little bit about the history about this talk. I prepared this, submitted this because I thought it's a nice topic, and I saw this and I liked it. And I prepared this and with some live coding, and then it's still a preview feature, but apparently it seems to be on hold and being revoked. So I was wondering, who did already use this here in the room? Anyone who tried already? Did you like it? The syntax? So there were, I did not found a lot online about it. Okay, there were a few blogs, but not a lot of examples, not a lot of info about it. I showed it to some colleagues, and they're like, "I've never seen this. What is this? Doesn't look like Java." So I thought, okay, let's look a bit into this, prepare a little talk about it, and so this is the timeline of the GEP, and it was a preview in 21, and then a second one in 22, and there is another one for 23. And yeah, there were some discussions online, but this the preview for the Java 23 was actually supposed to finalize it, and this year is rather soon. So my thought was, okay, 2 previews, now finalize it is probably in there, right? Wrong. So basically this happened. So it was probably not going to be in Java. They're still working a bit on the syntax to change that. However, it's from what all I could find, it won't be completely changed. So at some point it will be in there. So so let's maybe just look at the motivation of this, because I think it's still a nice thing to know about, and then follow a little bit this process about the preview and what could happen, what are the discussions, and so on. So a bit about the motivation, because this is actually the reason why I like this idea. So if you do a string concatenation in Java, there's a variable in there, or there are some more lines, a bit more a longer string. We basically have to do something like this, right? And it's not that nice. So wouldn't it be nice if we could do something like this? So we have just our string, and this would just be somehow interpolated in there. So that's basically the motivation behind this new feature. And if you look at some other languages, I have a few examples here. So C#, Python, Scala, JavaScript, and Kotlin. They all have that basically. So basically just have a string, and sometimes you have a prefix like this dollar in C#, or you don't even have one like in Kotlin, and it will just take the variable and interpolate it and have it in the string. Java doesn't have that yet. So the proposed syntax was like this. And so this is what I was saying in the beginning. It looks a bit like strange. It's like you have this string, you have the variables in there, and you prefix it with str. So that's the default the default processor. And then you have a dot. So this is not really, it is not really a method call. It looks a bit like one, but instead of yeah, you have this syntax. And most comments I found online, Reddit, Stack Overflow, was just like, the syntax is ugly, dots. But that was mostly the comments that were there. And what you can also do is you can have so you cannot only have variables in there, so also like just expressions here, so calculation, method calls, whatever. Now let's have a more detailed look at the structure that was proposed. So on the left you have an assignment to a variable, and you have to, at the moment, you have to have this assignment as it is now. So you cannot have that as a standalone statement. Then you have this strange template processor that we do have here, and then we have the string, which is the string template, and then we have the expressions in there with slash curly brackets. So that's basically the idea, and I also do have some examples of it just to show that it actually is okay. How it looks like now. It's big enough? Yes. If you use the latest IntelliJ still, and you install Java 21, you will see that here you get this is some suggestion So what could this be? So let's see what IntelliJ does tell us. It says replace with string template. So let's have a look what we get. So we have this this thing. And this will, yeah, it will basically print hello Java if you run this. You can have a look. Hello Java. Okay, maybe there should have been a space. Now let's have a look. What is actually this? No, I don't have that mouse here. That's kind of awkward. Disappeared. Uh-oh. Okay, my laptop is stuck. That's not... Okay, that's not ideal. No. Okay, I do have a screen. Should probably not have done live coding here. Doesn't show up. Why not? Okay. I only have 2 more slides. Okay, I'm simply going to tell something about it. So it's it was basically kind of because of all this discussion, not a nice syntax. People were complaining it's not nice, and there were apparently some deeper things that were not really as expected. I think it's restarting now. There was a discussion of the basically main architect of Java, Brian Götz, and he also replied on Reddit why it was actually revoked. So he said it was not about people complained about that syntax, because he basically this is not a reason not to put it in the language, but there were a little bit deeper implementation issues, and he didn't went into too much detail. So he proposed basically a different syntax, which I hope we can still see when if this is working. Nah, it's not. For whatever reason. Okay. I just would like to show you the new syntax. Maybe this is still working. No, it's okay. Maybe it's still. I hope it still works. So I just explain it in words. It's not too difficult. So the idea is to get rid of this template process that we had in the beginning of the string. So we had str dot and we had the string. And yeah, this is what people didn't like so much. So the idea was to restart it. I'm not using IntelliJ again now here. This is not So the idea is not to get basically rid of this template processor. It was rather flexible because you could implement your own. So the str was the default one, so it was just there, and you could basically implement your own, which does whatever. It did not have to return a string actually with interpolation. You could return a list, an optional. You could basically return anything, a number. And so this was proposed to. There we go. Okay, that's what we want to have. Don't crash. Perfect. Okay. Okay, this is what I was just actually telling. This is the comment from Brian Götz in an email exchange that you can find on the Oracle website. And also on Reddit, it is more or less the same. So he was saying that the feedback received, was mostly like someone didn't like the syntax, but this was still not a reason like to revoke it and to come up with something else. And the idea is now basically to have this. So there's no string template processor in front of the string. So, but it will simply return a string template object, which is already created now. But it will just return this now instead of a string or anything else. If there's a if there are expressions in there, otherwise it will return a string. And what you can then do is basically you can do the interpolation in your method. So you can have just an overload a string or a string template, and then you can use the string template to do the processing. So this is the basically the proposed change, which might be then implemented in 24, 25 or something like this. I think the time is over. No, it's 4 minutes still. No, it's right. It's over. Okay. Any questions? Any comments about this?
Can you go back
Yes.
one slide?
Yes. This one?
Is that a typo, or is the slap backslash still optional?
Let me just see. No, I'm sorry. This is actually a typo. Yes, you're right. I mean, this also works, right? But it was supposed to be interpolated. Yes, it was supposed to be a backslash in there. So even though this is also a valid string template, right? It would recognize it because it has one in there. As soon as there's one in there, it would be one.
So
A string.
it would actually say this is a string template based on an analysis of the string.
Can you just repeat, please?
So if I would use type, so if I would put a var in front of it, like it did in line 1 and 2, it would actually.
Yes. Yes, it will be. That is the idea. Even though this you cannot really try yet because this is just a proposed thing, so you cannot actually get a Java version that can do this already. That was just in the in a GEP basically.
So the compiler could infer a string template from the context of.
Yes, it would know this is a string template, and this is basically, it is kind of doing it now already in the current version, basically. It knows that this is a string template. Yes, this is the basic idea. So this is actually compiled because you cannot do this now, right? Because if you try to do this yourself as a method, it would not work because if you do this in some class or something, you don't have access to the local variables, especially, right? So this would not work. So if you just pass this to the method, this method would not know that name and age are variables, right? So you can actually not, unless you make a compiler plugin or some other bytecode, whatever, you could not do this now with the current Java syntax. Yes. But this is obviously IntelliJ, right? It gives you that hint. Yes. But this is just a hint, But this is a compile time thing, right? That's the basic idea. So this variable must exist when it's in there. So this must be a valid expression. If you put in there age plus 1, this must be a valid expression, basically. So this is the idea, to have it on compile time and not on runtime somehow that it could fail or that you have to pass something. That's the idea. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. I tried this because the latest version had different hints than one a month or two ago or something like this. The latest one still suggests this one, but it gives you a warning. It's a preview feature, which is quite funny, actually. Yes. Yes. Yes.
What is the purpose of returning a string template? Is it implying that the substitution is happening not at the time of evaluation? Because otherwise, why doesn't it just return a string?
Yes. But that's actually a crucial thing. This is what this string template processor with the str.syntax did. It returned a string or whatever this you could implement your own one. But the idea is basically, so if this returned a string simply, it would not be that flexible, That was the idea, because this processor could return an optional, a number or something like this, or a list or whatever, any object, a JSON object, for example. So not only a string. The default did a string, but you could change that behavior. And the idea here is that if you read this whole GAP, there's a lot of reasoning about this, and it says that they explicitly did not want to, how to say it shortly, they explicitly did not want to have a simple string with this interpolation for security reasons, for a lot of other reasons. Like some other languages might do this. You can have just a string, or you can have a string that looks like the same with quotation marks or something, and this variables and expressions in there. But they wanted to distinguish from an actual string. That was the idea. So, and this processor was supposed to do. Now this was changed to return the string template, but the compiler is doing it for you. You know, it returns a different object, because with the current syntax, it would simply just be a string, right? And you could not at the moment like replicate this with just your own code, right? Unless you make compiler plugins or bytecode whatever thing. So yeah.
If I remember correctly, it also came with an HTML template processor in the original preview.
I think there was an HTML. There were, I think, three. There was a raw template, a format template, and a string 3.
Has the idea of the HTML template gone away now, or you don't know yet?
With this one, basically yes, but maybe not exactly fully, because the idea is to do this in a method, just in a method call. So, but without that processor, so this took the processor, but the rest stays the same basically.
So would there be an HTML template in the?
Yes. Correct, but I think the HTML template was not a provided one. That was just an example, I think, because there were only 3. Okay, I think the time is totally up now. Thank you.